Welcome to Sew with Mrs. Herbert. In this episode, we will be stay stitching the upper edge of our skirt and completing the darts. Now, last episode, we read something about stay stitching on our pattern guide sheet. So let's review that. Number 18 said stay stitch. Stitch 1/2 an inch from cut edge in direction of arrows. And then it tells you that it's shown only in the first illustration. So I'll explain that when we look at the actual starting directions for our skirt. This direction 18 refers to this illustration. And in this small illustration, they're showing you a neck edge, the arrows going toward the center. So as I said, just a review where you've heard that before, let's look at the directions for beginning to make our skirt. We are making skirt D. Step 1, stay stitch upper edge of front and back. So they've unpinned the pattern pieces, opened them up flat. And so whether these are the front or back, it doesn't really matter. They're just showing you the right side up. And they're stitching, follow the arrow here and here. So from the side of the skirt to the center, side of the skirt to the center, and then here as well, side of the skirt to the center, side of the skirt to the center. And we'll be stitching 4/8, which is a 1/2 inch from that cut edge. We will not back stitch. So let's go ahead and do that. As I remove the pattern piece, you'll notice it's not the same skirt I cut out last week. You're right. I switched over, I recut it and switched over to this fabric. It's blue with pink flowers. I'm going to sew with black thread so that you can see it better. Using that solid black with black thread wasn't going to work very well for you to be able to see. So I'll start here at the side and I'm going to stitch. I put my tape at 4/8. As I said, I'm not back stitching, but I'm stitching from the edge to the center of the skirt. And I know the center because that's right where the fold is. Okay, I'm going to make one last stitch, make sure my needle is all the way up. When I lift this out, I want to make sure that I don't pull on those threads. I don't want to gather it in any way or stretch that curved edge. So I'm going to pinch the threads as I pull it out before I cut my thread off. Now I need to sew from the side to the center. So on this one, I'm turning it over so that I start at the side again. I'm going to clip my threads on both ends. Or should say the sides. The center I already cut short. All right, so this was piece 5, which is the front of the skirt, and the stay stitching is complete. When I think of stay stitching, I think of a pet on a leash and you're saying stay, stay. Well, it's kind of that way with the threads. You want them to stay in their proper place so they don't stretch. Okay, now I've got the other piece. I'm going from the side to the center. Now these tailor tacks were done at the 5/8 inch mark, so my stay stitching will be just above it. Now, as you were watching, you probably noticed that I tucked those out of the way. I didn't have to. In these, I didn't. But I just felt like it'll be easier to pull them out if they're not tucked under another thread. I will trim my threads at the end or side. And that is stay stitching. It's not going to show when we finish our garment. It's just to keep the fabric stable. Okay, let's look at the next thing to do. Number 2, to make darts in back. With this view, view D, only the back of the skirt had darts, whereas view A and B had darts on the front and the back. So to make darts in back with right sides together, fold the fabric through the center of the dart, bringing broken lines and small dots together. On inside, place pins at right angles to the broken lines. Stitch the dart from wide end to point. And then a tip to prevent a bubble at the point, make the last few stitches right on the fold and leave the thread ends long enough to tie a knot. Do not backstitch at the point. Press the dart flat along the stitching to blend the stitches, then press dart center. Wow, that's a lot. Let's go back and break it down. So, to make darts in back, with right sides together, fold the fabric through the center of the dart. So here, this picture shows you really well. It's folded with the pins. They said put the pins at a right angle to this line. They also said something about a dotted line. Now, we only have tailor tacks here and here. So once this is pinned, I'm going to draw a line, and then we'll be able to stitch it. So let me show you how. This was the piece that had the tailor tacks. So let me get that aligned up. All right. I need to poke a pin on this tailor tack, which is actually 5/8 of an inch in from the edge. And then I poke it out through, or up through, the tailor tack right across from it. Right there. Okay, that's what creates our dart. And now I'm putting the pin this way so that I'm actually pinning the two together. Okay, see how it comes right there at the tailor tack and right there. All right, now I go to the point. Have that point nice and centered so that the threads are even on both sides. Put a pin there. All right, I've sewn enough. I'm able to start sewing backstitch and sew right along here at an angle. But as a beginner, I needed more help than that. So what I suggest is that you take your seam gauge or short ruler and draw a line. We're going to put right where the tailor tack is, where that pin is. I'm going to start at the top edge and draw a line, put it there, but then put the point, see, at an angle right here. Okay, so right where that pin is where my pencil line will stop. Actually, it goes off the edge. So I'm drawing a pencil line all the way to the point. I'm going to add another pin in the center just to hold it in place. Now I can sew that dart. So yes, I start in about 1/4 of an inch in backstitch. Right off the edge, remove that pin. I can pull out these tailor tacks. And then I'll follow my pencil line. Now, when I get to the point, I need to pull out my pin ahead of time. And I'll take out my tailor tack. But right there where my finger is pointing, that's where the point is. When I get to that point, I've stitched darts enough that I can backstitch right up the fold, but I couldn't do that for a number of years. So as beginners, we stitch to the end. We don't backstitch. We just leave a long thread, I'm going to say from finger to thumb so that we can tie a knot. Okay, I'm going to hold that. There's a lot of thread. And now I tie a knot, and I want to make sure that the knot is right as close to the fabric as possible. So with that last stitch, it stays closed. Okay, and I did it once, and I'm going to do it another time. I'll put this one right on top of the other one. And now I can trim that, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail. So there is the dart. Pretty cool. I'll go ahead and take out these other tailor tacks and trim my thread at the top. And now we'll do the other dart. Same procedure. Oops, I almost went back. Let's just have it. Pull this out, and I'll tie it. One more. Okay, I have my dart sewn, but now let's go back to this. Stitch dart from wide end to the point. We did that. It talked about not back stitching. So now press the dart flat along the stitching to blend the stitches, then press dart center. And I'm not quite sure to blend the stitches, but they just, so it looks smooth basically would be the way to explain it. So you notice here on the picture, they're pressing the darts toward the center. Now, when we press, I'll just use my pencil to point here. When we press, we don't have our iron go past this tip. We don't want to smash what's right here. It's supposed to release some fabric, and that's actually to make it more fitted. This is the back piece with the darts. So this is to make some room for your buttocks. So we press the dart going toward the center back, but we only have the iron go to the tip, not over the tip. So I'll go ahead and meet you at the iron. I'm ready to press my dart. I'm going to push it toward the center back. And you can see I'm spreading this out, making sure that basically I have that seam line exactly where I'm pressing it, and I'm not going past the point. I'll do that on the other side, or the other dart. Now it talked about making sure things were smooth. So when you look here, that's where the dart is. You can't tell. And then there, see a little tiny poke? It makes this kind of rounded. And that's what's here too. Okay, so we've completed our darts. Now it needs some pressing to get rid of the other lines from folded. I pressed before I cut it out, but it looks like I need to press it again. But here's from the back. You're able to see our stay stitching and our darts. In our next episode, we are going to sew the side seams and the zipper. I'll see you then.